running some research vids through, fucking around a little bit. Responding to some requests and some complaints and shit like that as I'm going along. I'm just noticing today's clouds remind me of the music video that I was just doing a remaster on, and I was doing some music videos that had clouds and water and shit like that in the background. And one of them I was trying to determine if it was soundstage or not, because a lot of times sound stages, backgrounds and stuff like that, they are real photographs of the clouds. It was a photograph that I was looking at anyway. It was a photograph of him looking up at the clouds, I guess, or some shit, some melodramatic photograph. But that's not always the undeciding factor of it all, because they do with the fake satellite footages to make people believe that outer space exists and to help them use their imagination a little better. They make all these fake ass videos that they tell you are videos that are on a satellite, but you can prove for yourself by going to the footages, any one of them, the modern ones, the old ones, doesn't matter. Now they do it digitally. What they used to do is they used to put it on a reel-to-reel. So they take a photograph of several photographs probably of the clouds even at a time, but it didn't matter because they could make them move at any speed they wanted, because it was all just a photograph. So once it's on a reel, you can just turn the reel at any speed you want. They seem to be doing it digitally nowadays, but you can tell it's definitely photography work. It's not a video, because the clouds are not folding into each other, and they don't work together. You might have heard me arguing with my cousin one day in a video, if anybody that's paying attention, and he mentioned that because he thought that's what I wanted to hear. He doesn't believe that. He doesn't think that. He believes in outer space, and he believes in all the space alien shit you guys are talking about. But I think it's funny reading people as they're conversating with me, and he's saying all these things one after another that he thinks that I want to hear is the only reason why he's saying them. He either thinks they'll end the argument or the debate or whatever and stuff like that, but it doesn't, because I know what he's doing to me. He's full of shit, I love him anyways. I still love him, but it's that way with everybody, man. You can't get away from it. It's not just YouTubers. It's everybody. I'm here at the store, and as I'm looking around, it reminds me of something else that I've come on to. I have not heard Harold talk about it yet, but I'm sure he has. I think in my memory bank somewhere, back when I used to listen to Harold, he mentioned something similar to this, what I'm about to say. I'm pretty sure it was him. I don't want to say he got it wrong, but I'm going to reconfirm that what he said was partially correct and in the right direction, I guess. That's my half-ass way of complimenting him on trying to do what he was trying to do. Okay. Talking about the Metellus. In the last video I did, I was talking about the Metellus. There are so many ways of killing the Metellus. 666 asked me this question the other day in a comment question. How do you cure the Metellus? You have the cure for the... He thinks that Metellus is a... he believes Harold. He thinks that it's a space alien nanobot. That's what it is. Space alien nanobots. And that they're real. And I explained to him that nanobots are fiction and unnecessary. There's already these other species that exist that work in the same way you're claiming that the nanobots do. So why would nanobots be necessary? All right. And he wanted to know what the cure was, which seemed pretty strange to me. If you don't have any symptoms and you don't believe that you even, what I'm saying even is true, then why would you want the cure to something that you don't even believe in? So first, I feel it's my duty to show you all that, which I was going to do anyways. I was going to do that in all my series anyway. But then we need to talk about the cures. The cures are already here. You're already able to see them, and you already know all the cures. So to ask me that is pretty ironic to me. It's just funny. And Ziggy asked me the same thing. Ziggy was asking me, why don't I talk more about the cures? Why would I talk about the cures before we talk about what it even is? Let's first establish what it is that, let's not say that Morgellons is a space alien fiber. You know what I mean? Let's get off of all that shit first. Then we can go for what it actually is. It only takes a very short time. You'll see it because you've been seeing it the whole fucking time. You just deny it. No matter what, it's in your subconscious. Everything that I'm explaining to you, showing you, telling you, it's always been there. That's why I brought up the cobwebs in the last video, talking about the cobwebs and things like that, because you just call them cobwebs. You don't think twice about them. You call them spider mites, but they don't make spider webs. They make something that looks similar to spider webs, but they're not at all similar to spider webs. I'll show you. You know what they look like? They look like Morgellons fibers is what they look like. That's what cobwebs look like when you really look at them. And that's the same thing. If you see a spider web in your house, well, that's a spider web then. It's not a cobweb. It's not what I'm talking about. It's not the Metellus. So the cob Metellus make those little, or dust Metellus if you want to call them that. But there's hundreds of other ones living under the carpets, in the hardwood floors, in the mattresses, in our clothes, in our bodies. They're everywhere. You can't get away from them. Okay? So we want some cures for them. Well, we had the cures. We had the cures all along. We stopped using them. We're going further and further away from them. We got away from them purposely. We got away from... That's why I was explaining to you, spraying the fields with the Metellus killers. What they would do is, over the years, over hundreds of years, if not thousands of years, they had a lot of ways of doing this. One of the ways of killing the Metellus on the plants was to have predators of the Metellus, as I was explaining in the last video. The cannibal Metellus is not enough. It's just not enough. Inside the human body, I think it's necessary because, as I was saying, you cannot get all the other creatures, like, for example, the ladybug, the bumblebee. The bumblebee is, you always thought that these things were eating the pollen. Well, pollen itself is a Metellus. Pollen is a Metellus. You understand this? It's being passed around and traveling as pollen. And you'll say that the wind blew the pollen over to another plant. It's not. It's Metellus. It's Metellus that's traveling on electromagnetic current that's going over to the other plant. Now again, that's up to you scientists to look into that. Shouldn't take you fucking more than 5 minutes. Go look at that to prove that to yourselves and understand what I'm saying. That's why I was saying to you guys about the poison ivy and poison oak. Poison ivy, poison oak, and other plants that do that and have that rash reaction, itching, watery eyes, all the shit that it does to all allergies for this matter. I'm just using poison ivy and poison oak as a stronger example of evidence that you'll see the rashes. But all allergies are related to this. Eczema that you'll get, and the doctor will say, oh, he's got allergies. Hay fever, right? You call it hay fever. Well, those are the hay Metellus I was talking to you about in the last video. They would call that the hay Metellus or the dust Metellus. Oh, you got hay fever, they'll tell you, right? And they'll give you some medicine. They'll give you medicine for all this shit, right? And all the medicines do are feed the Metellus. They're not killers of the Metellus. The only thing that seems that they don't, you can give them things that they don't like if your body is strong in vinegar, they don't like the taste of vinegar. You can easily do this experiment in your own garden. Spray your garden with vinegar and watch the Metellus walk away. They will all walk away. You'll watch them get right off your plants. The webs, what you call spider webs that are all over your plants, they're not spider webs. They're Metellus webs. And if you go spray your plants with vinegar on a regular basis, water and vinegar, and soap so that the vinegar stays there a little longer or whatever. Coconut oil is another one you can use. Coconut oil will kill them and blow them up. And then you can also use the best one, which is a peroxide. Peroxide instantly kills them, but it's only killing the ones that are on the outside, and it's not killing the eggs and larvae. Neither is the coconut oil, and neither is anything else. You have to use the stronger chemicals in order to kill the eggs and the larvae, okay? All right, so over the years, we used to spray our vegetation, including our cigarette tobacco. That's why, Ziggy, when you're bitching at me and trying to say that I'm claiming that smoking is good for you, I'm trying to say that it used to be good for you. Smoking used to be a benefit to the humans, because what it did was we used to spray the crops down with a lot of fucking chemicals that would kill these biometellus. They had to kill the biometellus and the hybrid biometellus because your eyes would see them. Then it got to the point where the things that were killing the biometellus and the hybrid metellus that were on the vegetation, then we, at some point, the zombies thought about it and said, okay, well, even though we can't see them, there must be another one there. There's still some other ones there. We can't see them, but I know every time I fucking smoke a cigarette or eat a tomato or bring the tomatoes in the house, whatever, I feel tickling around my nose and in my nose, and my ear starts itching. And it kind of just like going into a fucking library, right? You go into a library and you're sitting around for a little while, and then all of a sudden your ear starts itching, and you're going through all the books, and you're at college and you're going through some books no one's touched in over years or whatever, and you don't think about it, but the dust is what's flying all over the room, right? And they'll tell you that it's paper mites. They call those paper mites. People, they're fucking lying to you every fucking which way. But you should be smart enough to look around and see this for yourselves, okay? So, anyways, so these airborne dust mites that are all around the library are now going to land on you, go in your body, have a short die-off. If they didn't already lay eggs all over where they are before they die off, they're certainly going to lay them on you. You take your bath, your shower, whatever that night, but you're only washing up with soap and water, which is not really killing them. It's just washing them off your body, okay? Then you can go and you can keep tracking these things all the way down by bioscale. Watch their characteristics as you watch the bios and the hybrids, and keep watching their characteristics. You're going to find that they were around us the whole fucking time. We used to run, think about when we were running on the system's natural current, right? Way back in fucking time, right? You have to go back before the bell was invented, before the fucking church bell was invented, right? Think about what the current was at that time. Then, when we wanted to disrupt the current, change the current, as I keep saying, it's hard for me to explain it because I say change the current, okay? There's probably other legal terms that all you scientists can use to better describe what I'm saying, because you're not really able to change the current. You're only able to deflect it, reflect it, absorb it, that kind of thing. So it's not like you're able to go to the North Pole and say, okay, I got the main system right here. Here's the main fucking switch. And, what's that story? That's the Daniel Boone, right? That's the Daniel Boone story. Daniel Boone, the governor, the old governor from the 1300s, or no, he was from the 1100s, right? Whenever the fuck he was around. So anyways, he claimed that he went to the North Pole and it was slowing down. I'm trying to remember if he said he reversed it, but I don't think so. I think he said it was slowing down, and he gave the handle a push, and then we started up again from there. Imagine that. I mean, and all your space alien stories that you guys got and everything. And hey, your history books. Ziggy, I didn't even think of you until just now on that. Ziggy, go look up that fucking story about Daniel Boone the governor. Not Daniel Boone the man, because Daniel Boone the man was another fictional character that was in storybooks and television and stuff. But the original Daniel Boone. And that's a very interesting fucking story. So anyway, he claimed that he changed the current and he sped it back up again. Maybe something to that story. I don't know. Someone would have to look into it. But don't believe everything you hear. Remember that. Just believe what you can see and prove for yourself. And fortunately, we can't get to the North Pole. Okay, so we were running on those lesser currents, kind of like the railway station in Austria that still runs at 6 to 8 hertz kind of thing, right? Then the bell came along. The bell, the shape of the towers that the bell were in were resonators. Those were the resonators. They would resonate the frequency from the bell going off. Now you put a bell on every corner, because every corner of every town, of every city, of every state, of every fucking country had a fucking bell tower. And they all had the same shape to the top of them. The same way that they used your energy from your body when you went to church, and 1,000, 2,000 people are sitting in one room with the cathedral ceilings shaped the same way to send that vibration, that sound vibration, energy, and they all thought they were, praying to God, and they'd all sit there and go, Now that's a very positive energy, by the way, just to let you know. Not the one I'm making, but the one I'm mimicking. They had the right frequency. They had a very positive frequency that they were sending up into the system when they were doing that. My bitch about that is that they were doing it for the wrong reasons. They didn't know that they were sending an electrical current. They didn't know the electromagnetic current. They were being told that there was some fucking fictional character sitting up above those clouds, and when they went there, they were going to have full consciousness of everything that happened in this bio realm, and that they would actually give a shit about anything that happened in this bio realm. And that is not the fact. That's not the way it works. The energies do go back to this other side. They're all around us. They don't have to go above the clouds. And those energies are all around us, and they're builders. The same thing as that we are. That's our energy right there. It's all one shared energy. So we were killing off these fucking Metellis all along. We stopped it. We took it away. We cut out the lead paint. We took the asbestos off all the pipes. We took the asbestos off the side of the house. What was the asbestos doing? What the asbestos siding was doing on the outside of the house for all those years was that the small metal flakes that were inside the asbestos, the small metal flakes that were keeping the electricity that was running through your wires. Remember, wires back in the old days did not run in between rubber conduit, remember? They were just drilled out holes in the wall, and then they put the wires going straight through the fucking wall. You're lucky if they even did that. Sometimes the wires were running right outside of the wall. In Europe, that's the way they started off with all their electricity was running that way. Phone lines were running that way, everything, right? There was no coating on the outside of wires. So that coating not being on the wires back then, you put that through the walls. Now you put asbestos shingles on the outside of your wall, right? Then you're going to do, or other things, you could use materials made of other things that would reflect. In other words, stone would reflect the current back into the home, right? If you had stone walls. But if you had brick walls, bricks absorb the energy. They're not reflecting it back into the house. Same way that the trees reflect the energy. That's why we started making everything out of brick and wood, because it would absorb the energy. So all these cures that you guys are looking for, I'm getting aggravated talking about this. All these cures you're looking for have always fucking been here. They're right in front of your faces and you're denying them. You look the other way, you fucking run. Then on the inside of the house, you got lead paint. You had lead paint and other things, because sometimes in homes, and think about it, even this, before the electricity even came along, because I know I jump around and I bounce around, but if you want to know real fucking history, go look at the castles. See what rocks and stones they were using. What heavy metals did they contain? Find that out and think about that. Okay? Somebody at some point in history, if you start going back further and further, using evidence that you can see, feel, and touch, don't bother with your fucking tools, man. Don't bother with your modern science shit. Seriously, Ziggy. Put that shit away. It's garbage, man. I can go on the History Channel and look at them. They're going to pull out all kinds of fancy equipment, big magnifying glasses, all kinds of fancy telescopes for shit they can just see with their own fucking eyes if they just look. It doesn't make any sense. They're gonna fucking pull out a piece of stone, examine it under special conditions for weeks and weeks, and do this big episode on this fucking certain stone because they want to know if the stone was coming in this direction, at what time in history was it pulling, and all this shit, and what was its magnetic ability, was it the magnetic fluctuation pointing east and west, north or south, at what time of the stone's life as the stone was being created in this realm. You fucking idiots. You can see that just by looking at the rest of the fucking stones. They're all facing in one direction. So if you're going to claim that the dirt was pushing them in one direction, then that means the electromagnetic current was going in that fucking direction. So you already know the answer to that question. You don't need to. And the guy comes back on and says, oh yeah, I was going in. I did all this and I did all that and I fucking investigated. And I'm telling you right now, oh my God, people, we could have stopped the episode 2.5 hours earlier and just seen it with our own eyes. It's fucking incredible. All of this is so incredible. So yes, there are cures. You have them. You know what they are. You're the ones that are fucking denying it and saying that no, I don't know, fucking cobwebs, man, and fucking hay mites. Oh no, the bird mite can't transfer onto a human. No, science has proven that that's impossible, Mike. Fuck you all, man. Go look around, man. I lose myself and then I'm fucking lost and fucking get thrown all over the place by my own words. So throughout history, we got better and better at breaking our connection with things, controlling them. We no longer need to have the wires exposed. We can now put them in rubber seal. Why? Because when they come out through the house, we know how to get them exactly where we want to go. Why waste the hertz out here, right? We're traveling, I'm looking at power lines. So if you look at the power lines going across and by your streets and everything like that, it doesn't matter that they're rubber coated to stop somebody from getting electrocuted and dying or whatever their reasoning is. Don't worry about that. You're still getting the connection at the tip of every fucking pole anyway. You know, that's why they used to have what was called resonators on the wires. They used to put resonators on there because the wires themselves didn't have coatings. So now they put the rubber coating on there as a resonator. And now think about that one now, too. Think about that one. Glass resonators, porcelain resonators, right? Think about when we started switching over on resonators. Does anybody know about that? Does anybody know the electrical system and why we did that? Very interesting shit for you scientists, for you scientist minds that want to know. You should go investigate that, because that's a big shit too, of how we fucked ourselves. Simple little changes, just simple little changes throughout our systems, bio, electrical, magnetic changes that we've kept making, considering ourselves bio creatures instead of electrical. That's why the electrometallus is called electrometallus, and that's why the nanos are called electromagnetic nanometallus. That's why I did that, because I don't want anybody to be confused when they see that they don't have any legs, and they don't have any ass, and they don't have any mouth, or they don't have a nose, they don't have eyes or antennas. They don't need them. So anyways, you go through history. What am I at for time here? It's 20 minutes. You just keep going through history and looking at all the ways that we changed the electromagnetic currents throughout history. And you see for yourself. You don't. I mean, I enjoy telling you something that you don't know. I do enjoy that part of teaching somebody something that they didn't know, or enlightening some people to things that they didn't know. Okay, fine, that's fine. But what good does it do if no one even goes and looks for themselves? I don't want them taking my word on it, because it's all been there the whole time. You all could have seen it the whole fucking time. But to keep refusing to go look and not look, and then accuse me of not paying attention to history, and not knowing my history, and not knowing about Spaceballs. Okay, then you get up to Morse code, fast forward to Morse code, right? And by the way, the written word did the same damage that these other things did too, because the written word comes out of the human mouth, and when the human makes these certain sounds that we make, that's why listening to my videos is so hard for all of you all, because I have a terrible sound resonance. The sine waves that my voice carries and the sound resonance that I carry is very hard to listen to. It's almost it's like listening to nails coming down on a fucking chalkboard. All the swearing along with it, and other verbal things that I do, all come out of my mouth, and my specific resonance that I give. I'm fine with that. I'm honest about it. I've noticed it. That's why I'm honest about it. I've just noticed it. That's why I say too, that's why you guys come get wise to what I'm explaining, and let you guys go ahead and do that part. I'm not offended. I wouldn't be upset. But if you're not going to look, then no. What am I going to do? I have to keep going. Okay, so you had Morse codes, and what do you call it? Not Morse codes, but the telecommunication. Let's put it that way. So you had the telecommunications starting, sending signals on the other end with a speaker that would be creating sound vibrations and sine waves. It wasn't the beginning of the end, but it was the start. There was other ways before bells too. I'm just going back to bells. There were other ways of getting these sine waves, these sound waves to change things. What kind of metal the bell was made out of was going to make a difference, right? Again, the heavy metals come into play. The magnetic ability of the bell that was ringing was going to have a sound result with the final sound frequency. If the bell got a crack in it and broke the connection, that would make a difference in the sound frequency, right? It's different to hear a church bell going ding da dong da ding da dong da ding da dong, all real nice, and then all of a sudden the bell cracks one year, starts developing a crack, and a few years into the crack getting further and further up the bell, everybody gets together and says, "You got to replace that church bell, man, or at least have it fixed or something." You kind of got to replace it, because anytime you try to fix them, you're again changing the sound frequency. So you had to kind of replace the church bell. It's a lot of trouble to go through so that you don't hear dun 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 dun, right? Because that's what would happen. You change the sine wave, you change the sound frequency, but you're not changing the current, the main current. You're just fucking things up. Those were some good signals, though, I gotta say. Some of those signals that were being given to us back then, for some reason, the human population was sending good signals. Because I know, no doubt in my mind, that humming that I was talking about earlier, that there are so many frequencies that are healers. Those are healing frequencies. And that's where I'm running off with all this, by the way. What am I at for minutes? Probably run off for minutes again. I'll talk about it more in the future anyways, but I'm not sure if Harold talked about any of this in his videos. I thought he did before. Emotions. Human emotions will cause different electrical effects in your body, and if you realize what I'm telling you about the Metellus, you will also kill, feed, back off, increase, decrease. You will have all these different reactions with the Metellus depending on what your energy is, whatever your energy level is, right? And you can experiment with this. I can guarantee you, no doubt in my fucking mind is I'm fine. Because remember the other day I was saying static electricity is going to be they're going to be way down there low. They're going to be real low. And then Ziggy just gave me a great idea too, because I'm going to go to the store and buy some of them. I'm going to buy the bio creature sine wave killers of the bio creatures and see if they work on the nanos and the electrodes. I'm curious to see. Just the same way that I'm telling you that there are ways of light. We all know this. We know what kind of light kills the nanometellus, right? We know this, but throughout history, we've all just fucking gone right with it, right? We see the chemtrails going by all the time. The ones that Harold calls chemtrails, those are called mineral streets. mineralstreats, mineral streets. There's a reason for the name. The name has now been changed. It's mineral streets. And those mineral streets, you see them going in your sky by the fucking tens of thousands. Does anybody look up? Nah. Does anybody say anything? Nah. Few hundred people that do say anything, they try to come out on YouTube. Big fucking deal. It's only YouTube. You don't have any mainstream propagandist pull, so you're not going to get anywhere. The only mainstream comes out about chemtrails is saying it's a conspiracy. So using the word chemtrails means that you're a conspiracy junkie and you're into the conspiracies. So I use the word chemtrails only so that you'll know what I'm talking about. They're really actually called mineral streets. And if 7.8 billion zombies can watch these things all flying over their heads and not see them, then they're fucking zombies. They don't know shit. So you can't rely on them for reality or truth, because you can look up and you can see them flying all over the place. You can watch them spit out the fucking mineral streets, right? So why would you ever listen to your children tell you about chemtrails ever again? They don't know shit. Talking to Ziggy again, because he said his son knows all about the chemtrails. No, the chemtrails are not dumping out Metellus on our heads or any kind of alien fibers or any of that. That's all nonsense. I can understand why Harold would think that, you know, his education and stuff. If it's not that, then that means Harold's an agent and he's just purposely selling you those bullshit stories. That's not what's going on. You can see the truth for yourself. Okay, I can tell you with certainty. Anxiety. Okay, anxiety and fear encourage the Metellus. They like it. They enjoy it. They thrive on it. They'll multiply faster, and they get excited by that emotion. That's a fact. You can go see it for yourself. Experiment with it yourself. You'll see it for yourself. It's easy to do in a time like right now, because I'll give you the example of, okay, the lion mama Kona. What am I at for minutes? Am I going to get this out in fucking 4 minutes? I doubt it. The lion mama Kona 19 virus is a Metellus, right? It's just one of the hundreds of respiratory Metelluses, one of the hundreds of pneumonia Metelluses, because all pneumonias are Metelluses. Okay, there are different strains of Metellus, each pneumonia. They like different things, put it that way. Okay, you can prove all this and see all this for yourself and how it works. Okay, so it was always here. It was always here, I'll tell you that. It was here for all along. The only difference was our bodies used to kill them off. Our atmosphere, what we used to do, the things that I'm explaining to you about the house, have them around, the airborne ones were already being killed before they even entered the body. If they did get lucky enough to enter the body, we were smoking cigarettes and eating vegetation that was sprayed down with shit that would kill them when they did enter the body. They didn't even have time to fucking lay eggs. If they did lay eggs, as soon as the eggs hatched, they were again killed by something else we were doing. And many things. I'll go over them all with you later. Otherwise, I'll never get to the point that I'm trying to make before this video fucking ends. Okay. So we changed these things around us so that we were no longer killing them off. Okay. So now this Metellus gets to thrive. This lion mama Conan 19 virus, it gets to thrive now, right? So it was only thriving, and it was when it came out, when it became made aware to the public. In other words, when that lion mama Conan 19 program, when that program was put into the human population, it was dumped into the population very quickly. It took about 2 years of dumping it into the system. So we think, but if you look back in a little bit of time, you'll look around, the Asian countries were already wearing the masks, 10 years, 10, 15 years, they were already wearing the masks. They were calling it pollution because they put their Metellus up into the atmosphere. They put their carbons up into the atmosphere. They put their minerals up into the atmosphere to be controlled by this system, the natural system, because the natural system will do depending on whatever you feed it. The builders that I'm telling you about, they will do whatever it is you feed them. They will do their job and they will build according to whatever they're being fed. So with the lion mama Conan 19 virus, what had happened is, if you notice, take notice in the fact that when you first were told about it, it was only taking out people with broken immune systems, the elderly. That's who it was taking out. And everybody looked around at each other, and all the conspiracy people all said, something's fucking wrong here. They're up to something, because this is weird. I don't see anybody dropping dead. All the people that are dropping dead would have dropped dead from these pneumonias anyway. One of the other pneumonias. They would have called it post-op pneumonia. They would have called it walking pneumonia. They would have called it the flu. They would have called it all these respiratory conditions. Asthmatic. Didn't have his inhaler, and he died of asthma attack. All these different things. Matter of fact, that one they'd even call a heart attack. They say he had an asthma attack which led to a heart attack. But that's what they tell you. Bullshit. It's all the fucking Metellus. It's all about the fucking Metellus. So what's happened is now is they've raised the anxiety level on every fucking human. All 7.8 billion of you fucking zombie motherfuckers have caused yourself big time anxiety. Why? Every channel you turn on is telling you about the fucking corona, lion mama Conan 19. Every TV channel you change to is telling you lion mama Conan 19. Every commercial in between, everything that's telling you lion mama Conan 19. And then every fucking computer that you turn on is telling you lion mama Conan 19. Every fucking cell phone you listen to, talk to, every human being you look at is wearing a fucking mask that holds back a nanocarbon that doesn't even work to fucking stop the nanocarbon that you're wearing the mask. Oh my God, people, what the fuck? It's a nanoparticle. You're putting on a mask that does not stop the nanoparticle. Okay? So unless you're going to put 2 tanks on your back with a fucking respiratory mask leading to those 2 tanks of oxygen, clean oxygen, or some shit of that nature, then you're not stopping the fucking nanocarbons. So if you cough, you sneeze, you stop the liquid from leaving the mask. Big fucking deal, people. Big fucking deal. This does not stop the nanoparticles from going through your mask and then being in the air, and then some of them being on your clothes or on the box or the shelf or whatever you're near, and then the next person lifts that thing, causes a gust of what you think is wind or air, which is actually electromagnetic current, which you just stirred up when you move that box, and then now that goes into the air, and somebody else who's around, maybe wearing a mask, and maybe that dust lands on their eye. Maybe what you're calling dust, instead of, they're not going to feel it. They're not going to know it. It's nanoparticles. And that little thing of dust that you're calling fucking Lion Mama Kona 19 lands in their eyeball, which is a fast absorption. Their skin could absorb it as well, but just saying, if it lands in their eyeball, let's say they're inhaling at the same time that you breathed that other, and lifted the box, I should say, because now it's already been breathed out of somebody else's lungs, and now it's going to be sitting on the shelf, and they picked up the box, and then now the next person comes along, moves that box, disturbs the current that goes up in the air, lands, and they're breathing in while it's in the air. Boom, they got it. Doesn't mean they're going to fucking die from it, right? So if they got a broken immune system, they're going to die from it. Well, now look what's happened. Why is it that now all of a sudden we're hearing about, just here and there, I mean, granted it's just here and there, but a 30-year-old here dies of corona-19, a 45-year-old here, nobody really younger than that, I don't think, but it's one here and it's one there. How do we do that? How did we do that? How did we get a 30-year-old to have a broken immune system so that the Metellus would attack it and have a successful death rate for the Metellus? How did that Lion Mama Kona 19 virus Metellus, how did that Metellus get to compromise a 20-something or a 30-something-year-old's healthy body? How is that so? I ask myself. Well, it's right in front of my fucking face. You just put on the masks on everywhere this poor fucking 30-year-old goes. He's in shit fucking fear. He's encouraging the Metellus that's inside of his body. He's breaking down his immune system and breaking down his body just because of the fear. That's where I'm telling you, you'll see the evidence for yourself. We do it to ourselves. So now all these 30-year-old human bodies that are walking around thinking to themselves, fuck, I could fucking drop dead at any time. I can't go out without my fucking mask on. I can't fuck my wife anymore without a mask, because she's a nurse, or he's a doctor, or she's a doctor, or well, they work in the medical industry, or whatever. I mean, it doesn't really matter where you work, right? And then even all these stupid fucking rules. Oh, you can't go out after 10 o'clock at night, as if the Metellus somehow go to sleep after 10 at night, or some shit like that. I don't, fucking stupid, man. So anyways, this video's ending. I was running around, banging some research vids out, shooting the shit while I'm driving. This is, I'm going to get away from the Michael Oziak channel. I'm just running the rest of these through. And I'm going to switch things over to Miguel Everyone channel sometime soon. I don't know when.